Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. So to this enriching panel discussion on how to maximize efficiency of customer success team. So first of all, as a remote first company, it's really cool to have events like this to see faces, see similar faces, put face on name, and cherish moments in this digital world. And before deep diving into the discussion, I'd like to extend also a big thanks to Qonto, specifically Alaoui, for hosting this gathering, this incredible scene. I feel like I'm at the Olympia for who knows the place. And a quick note also about Forest Admin. So Forest Admin, our mission is to empower businesses as the best internet tool to streamline their operation and thus enhance customer experience and satisfaction. So to do so, we provide a pre-built admin panel that is equipped with all the necessary features to scale over time. While it's the developer who are building admin panel in most companies, it's mainly actually the customer success and support team who are having a robust use on it in their day-to-day operation. And that's what we wanted to shed light tonight, the importance of having a robust tools and streamline process to maximize the efficiency of customer success team. Those things are the backbone of any customer-centric organization, and the tools they use play a pivotal role in ensuring seamless operation and customer satisfaction. So with that context in mind, let's now turn our attention to the brilliant minds of our panelists tonight that will share their knowledge and expertise. So first of all, representing Qonto, I have the pleasure we were going to introduce Alaoui, Head of Operation Engineering. I have a strong knowledge of all the evolution tech industry. I'm eager to have a perspective on customer support and operation strategy. So we to introduce yourself and say what you want about Qonto.
Hey, certainly, head of operations engineering at Qonto. I'm very happy to hear. Thank you for the invitation. I've been working at Qonto for the past 3 years, and I've had the pleasure to see the company grow and myself grow with it. So Qonto has been founded in 2017 by Alexandre Pro and Steven Ali. Its main goal is to provide an integrated finance management solution for small and medium-sized enterprises. And of course, we try to do that the best way we can. So with a stellar product and a stellar customer service, and we believe strongly that a strong customer service is also backed by a strong tech and strong tooling. And we really believe, I think, at Qonto that tech and operations should work hand in hand. And that I believe it's we're going to talk about pretty much tonight.
Yeah. And joining us from Flitter, we are honored to have Hajer Gorgi, co-founder and COO. So she shares insight into navigating the challenge with the insurance landscape. And by the way, Hajer, congrats on your recent fundraising. I think you announced it a few days ago. Can you send a few words about yourself and Flitter?
So I'm one of the 3 founders of Flitter. Flitter is a car insurance company that built from scratch in 2022. We are now 15 people, and we are supporting 30 users in France. We are one of the best rated economics company with 4.8. That is our key KPI. It's where following at Flitter, and we are proud users of Forest Admin, which we use on a daily basis for our operations.
Thanks. Lastly, we have Pierre-Francois, the Rouge CTO of Moto. You can see their beautiful bike right here. As a bike admin, I would love to have it in my hotel in Annecy, that I'm not sure it's your priority at the moment. you will share your perspective on the subscription service industry. So I wanted to introduce Qonto and yourself. Thank you. I feel pressure to bring my bikes to add it. Already the 5th time that you're asking, so I promise I will enjoy it. So I'm one of the founders of Moto. Moto is the e-bike subscription service, something I'm excited about as well. And for this price, users, they get access to their own bike, which looks like this. They also get access to a free and unlimited insurance and theft indemnification. So we are also e-bike branders, which means we design and produce the bikes ourselves. So I'm on the CTO and the CTO, and I work mostly on developing the product. So that includes the bike itself, which is a tech tool because it has an IS in it, and also a lot of different tools that we develop internally and within Forest. Sales, Pierre-Francois, and of course representing Forest Admin, we have our very own Paula, which is head of customer success, and myself. So to start this discussion, I'd like to start with to begin with some similarities and differences that you guys have. So first of all, I'm very proud to have a gender parity in our panelists. It's a coincidence, but worth mentioning it. I'm just the moderator here, so spoiler alert, you are all first and end user. What a coincidence, well. But no kidding, no joke. So you have different skills, expertise, and background. And I think what's interesting is that all of you are in what we call high activity, meaning that you have a high volume of transactions, intense ops activity. So you need the efficiency, scalability, adaptability. And that's the first topic you wanted to address tonight. Adapting operation to challenging dynamics. We know that this year has been quite challenging for fintechs, for insurtech, for startups in general, with financial constraints, more pressure also on compliance and regulatory. So the first question for you, Alice, it's kind of a complex one. How does the fintech industry evolve in 2023, and how does this impact your approach to customer support and operation? If you can share a quick word on that.
I'll try, of course. So, to be honest, I wouldn't know how the fintech industry has all evolved in the past few years. I had enough on my place with just my job at Qonto. But what's like today, as I said, we have no constraints as startups. We have our constraints as scale-ups. The ecosystem have changed. We have less money from investors, which is natural. But and also more expectations. We have more regulations as well, especially in the fintech industry, and that's of course have had an impact, negative or not positive, at least impacts on our operations. However, what I want to point out is that it's not the only thing that changed over the past few years. Over the past few years, many tools and many tech tools specifically have evolved and have shown their face in that state ecosystem. That is, those tools are more accessible than ever. You don't need to be a developer now to automate a process. You don't need to be a engineer or to use a node tool or something like that. So things have gotten easier to optimize. We just have to know what are the correct tools to use in order to streamline operations. So I could say to things haven't been harder. I have gotten harder on some of my, but things have gotten a bit easier on others. And I impressive you are going to talk of force at some points of chat that allowed all of us to be a developer. Basically, I made my first API call a few weeks ago, thanks to ChatGPT, knowing that I haven't made one single line of code in the past 10 years. So yeah, things have changed, but just not just for the negative, but also for the better.
More accessibility.
Yeah.
And the second question is maybe for you, Hajer, also following that. So you're more young startup than Qonto, and you just raised a fund recently, so it's quite interesting to know also what investors are looking at nowadays. What are the new standards in terms of KPI related tools when there's a efficiency in operation nowadays.
So yeah, I think these channel dynamics for intraday maybe some of you have seen bad news about it. Then I don't know the sort of things to me, but yeah, it's quite challenging. I think channel dynamics are also good designers. It forcing you to be more moderated, and I think the right way to be honest, I know from a financial background, so it's something I think that is put into. So yeah, we just did our city rounds, and when we did our pre-seed, it was like 2 years ago. A lot of money, no KPIs, actually no clients, so it wasn't the same pitch that we had to do while some startups were struggling. They had to get each and every KPI during this fundraising, and I think operations had been a very important part of what had in that. So Hajer, number of people for the number of clients, which are quite good at Flitter, and also how much money you work for the money that you burn was really important to TPI. And I think now VCs expect to be part of the efficiency. They don't expect you to be very tennis more than a standard intro, for example, and say that you are innovative that doing things the right way. So you need to really sort of focus on the video and when you go into your operation. So it really changes a lot of the way that you think about our business.
So they really look at if things are scalable and the tools that you're using.
So really, maybe things were too easy before. Right?
Maybe, yeah. You need to have the scale up KPIs and things are suited, I would say.
And now let's back to the trait that you all had in common. So high activity business, like it means that you need to make fast decision and have a force efficiency in your operation. I'm thinking about ULA managing a high volume of transactions, for the solution services manage contract, KYC, the customer mix to be super efficient. So maybe Pierre-Francois, if you can tell us some, how does a subscription-based electric bike company like Qonto ensure operational efficiency and also in tech-driven strategy that you have implemented recently?
Sure. So Qonto is we are a fleet operator, so we have thousands of bikes, and we need to operate it on a profitable way. Obviously, you mentioned cash flow was an important KPI. Another KPI that is very important to us is operating costs. Basically, we release those bikes on a monthly basis, starting at 65 euros. They need to cost us the least possible amount of money. And obviously, to do that, the tech has a very, very central role. We need to look at those business economics very, very carefully, and we need to minimize costs while maximizing user satisfaction. It's something that is key, and I guess it's key to most businesses. But for us, we are in the background, kind of a tech company. In the foreground, we are more of an ops heavy company. We have thousands of bikes. We have a warehouse. We manage repairs on a lot of bikes. But all of the tasks in the background are automated thanks to tech tools. Just to mention a few, we use Forage quite a lot to use in-com. We have chatbots also, and then we develop in-house a mobile app that is our operators use on a daily basis when they onboard the client, when they do a test ride in the bike, etc., etc. So really, tech is central and everything that we do it.
Thanks for sharing that. And Paula, on your end, how do you centralize and streamline your business operation to ensure efficiency and the customer success team at Forest? And I don't know if you can share to the crowd also any tools solution that made a significant impact to help the CS team at Forest.
Yeah, sure. So to ensure that efficiency, while centralization in our business operation is completely important, is super crucial for us at Forest Admin. We use a combination of some strategies to enhance and maintain a high rate of efficiency. So, for instance, one of the key components on our approach is our very own Forest Admin. Yeah, that's true. And it's true because we have integrated into our customer service workflows to centralize data, the data access and management. And thanks to that, this has allowed us to have a holistic view of our clients, their needs, the interactions with our platform. Actually, by doing so, we have proactively address any client issues, proactively maybe have relevant insights today and optimize their customer experience. So addition to that, of course, we use our CRM, in our case is HubSpot, to maintain, to build customer relationships. And with that, we use Metabanks integrated in our Forest Admin platform because this allows us to centralize and measure the success basically. Finally, of course, our project management tool that helps us to collaborate and coordinate with our different teams to better manage in an efficient way. So, this is a summary, but centralized data and using our solution as a core mirror, we have been able to provide our personalized and efficient equivalent of this operation.
And I don't know if you want to share.
I can control as a client.
You told before like sort of about immediate access to data and the right data as well. So I don't know if that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Forest we use it slightly for most of our operations, and a lot of processes are going through Forest at Qonto. And why we use it Forest is because it's at the same time people are required data, but we can do actions. But of course, we can access data. We can display the data however we want. And for me, that's really key to our operation. Why? Because data access, you get like answer fast for clients. That's quote unquote easy. If you put in other people, that works. You can, but if you want to answer well, you have to have access to that data immediately and with accuracy, with relevance. And to do that, well, you have to have a tool like Forest. And easiness of access, having everything centralized, can do the actions and read the data at the same time, that helps us in our operations. So the less tools you have, the more integration you have, the more optimized you have and streamlined operations are. Or at least that's what we mean.
Makes sense. And that's a great way to customer satisfaction and retention. This is sort of big. I wanted to add a bit to Hajer. You mentioned I was quite impressed by your impeccable customer service. So 4.8 stars, more than plus 1,300 reviews on Google for an insurance company. It's quite impressive. Everyone hates insurance. Sorry for that. But what are the key strategies to employ to enhance customer satisfaction at Flitter traditionally in your industry?
So use the right tool. I didn't mention the tool, but it's basically we are using very basic tools, Intercrop and Forest. And we started using also some low-code tools that were really useful to measure, for example, our NPS. At first, it thought it would be complicated, and then it realized that certain actions where it really had a very important interaction with the user during the onboarding, after the Hajer was assisted, and we just used like a email strategy with a type of low-code, but didn't need any engineer and also to be able to mention. So it's what is going to really make that in operations with it though external, from a developer. And it basically puts in place this NPS at 3 strategic moments, 3 important moments where we knew that we could have very bad NPS or churn because you have a repetitive problem. So each time we have somebody that rates us 1, 2, or 3, we call systematically each one. And that helps us really dedicate where we failed. And then people will tell you things like they are really willing to cope with you and help it. And then you can turn bad NPS people into like ambassadors. So I can remember one guy that called one day and he at an end, he was like, okay, they go on TV, I will be there and tell my friends about Flitter. And he did. He was on Pierre-Francois and telling that it was great insurance and had 3 policies after that. So yeah, the importance of an NPS, and I make sure that's very important times because sometimes I don't want to know that you have a problem with it. No, if you are in the operation, like oh my God, this really big time, but NPS, I don't want to talk about it. And we realized that as these 3 events had a leading NPS, in fact. So you didn't feel like good at the end of the day when you look at your NPS and they didn't slide. So that is sure added as it work very well. And of course, to satisfy the users and answer all the questions that they handle after the content for us are a lot of tools.
Mm-hmm. That's what you told me also, and that's something that we shouldn't minimize like one bad NPS. Like you shouldn't minimize like just by digging like that you dig into every little bad NPS, and that by digging into just this one feedback you can unlock some improvements.
Absolutely. There's a fantastic thing at Qonto that's called the Qonto way, and that's basically the zero tolerance policy for bad ratings, zero. And just as Hajer told you, we do the same every bad rating. We try to understand the root cause of it, not only to flip it, but also to avoid the risk of other bad ratings, because of say ratings, which C's, W, other things like now. But it's a lot of work, but just to say at the end, well, sometimes it's based with a TFL spot, but other sides it's based with other good ratings.
Say, and maybe Pierre-Francois, if you can eventually share a specific success story or initiative at Moto that improved customer satisfaction also in your company, and they share a concrete example to share to the crowd.
Of course, it's funny to talk about bad ratings because it's a metric we use also to prioritize what we do internally. And then when we launched, we had not many automations. So as part of the Moto service, you have access to free regas. So obviously, probably ride the bikes, and sometimes you have a problem on the bike that you have a flat tire. At the very beginning, it was a manual process for users. They had to write to the customer service through intercom. They had to wait for an answer, etc. It was getting quite long and a lot of friction in this process. And we had a lot of bad ratings because of that. And that's how we decided to automate everything and put the tech in users' hands. So we, as part of the Moto app, now users can book themselves a repair appointment, and they can do this fully automatically. And today it allows us to have up to 50 repairs, to handle up to 50 repairs a day without having a single human interaction with users. So it's really beneficial for us as a company. It's also beneficial for the users because they have a quick appointment for a repair, and it's very efficient.
It's kind of the tagline you used before, like best ops is no ops, right? And
I'd say that I lose my job.
Maybe your job is to find ways to don't have a job. But actually, it's really important, it's really interesting to find ways to empower your end users also to give him more autonomy. And it's really interesting. I don't know, Paula, if you have like also a specific success story or something you want to share on that as well.
Yeah, of course. Actually, thinking about, I don't think about initiatives that the first thing has and improve our customer satisfaction and retention. One of them is the quarterly business reviews. Because when I'm doing that, as a B2B company, actually, we at that moment, this kind of sessions will help us to really share value on different data, actually, because they are really important. Our clients really appreciate it, and how they use the platform, the interactions as well, the number of active users, and something that is super important is smart action, as you mentioned, because it's super crucial and essential for different business corrections in different clients that we have. So sharing this, doing this editing is completely important. Then also at that time we try to also discuss about the challenges that they have to be countered, not only with our platform, but also within the reviews, especially nowadays with the different situations in the table. So is there, and then understanding their roles in the short, medium, and long term. This is helping us to have a comprehensive understanding, so we can, of course, approach in a better way to their specific requirements. So this is one initiative. And another one that I ambition is client engagement from the start. So this is our priority in our team. This is our goal. So regardless, I think client is coming before the sales department and from the sales channel for sales settings. We need to engage with every client from the very beginning. Why? Because this will allow us, to tailor a better guidance, to ensure they get up to a strong, capacity with our platform, and of course to set a foundation of a successful partnership in another time.
Think about and then switch to as the last part of this panel is, of course, leveraging technology. Tech is also what links you all. Tech has played an important part in the service and product that you are offering, and play also a big role in improving the efficiency of your support and success team. So this question is more for you, Pierre-Francois. I don't know if you can share how technology is vital in managing subscription-based services like electronic bike, rental, and anything you want to share about that.
Yes, of course. The question about us that is asked to me the most is how many bikes are there sold. It's a good question actually. And thanks to technology, we are able to know when a bike is sold at the moment at which it's sold. And sometimes we find a bike that is sold even before the users realize the bike was sold. Basically, in the bike, you have a connected device, a GPS, and we can locate all the time. So we are able to recover the bike. And it kind of thing to us, thanks to that, so obviously we get some stolen bikes, but in 80% of the cases, we find the bike, which is good, to be honest. And the second element that's important is that when the bike is stolen, you can't actually use the electric assistant, and you can only use it if you have a motor. So thieves, when they steal one, they then steal two because they realize they can't really use. And so thanks to technology, we limit the theft quite a lot.
Thanks. And yeah, I don't know if you can share, it would be super interesting to understand how technology, automation, and data analytics, I know it's a broad question, but are important for a company like Qonto.
First, for me, it's very important because it gives me a job. And I can't really the experiences for our operation because, basically the operations that are call centers. Nowadays, let's say like everyone knows how to optimize, let's say, man and leader operation as much as they want, depending on their objectives. But I think the ways to be more competitive is, of course, like, it's so obvious to say it, but just to make as much as possible. If you get the two tools that are used to the same product, find a way to integrate them. If you have multiple screens, multiple clicks for the same product, we're talking about tech companies, so every process basically a computer. So the number of screens that your agent is going to look at, they have to decrease that. They have to decrease the number of clicking, they have to decrease the number of copy pasting, because by doing that, it's only decreasing the lead side, decrease also the error rates, which is another important part of any manual operation. And the only way to do that in a foolproof way is with robots. I mean, that's like a human will always make a mistake one time out of 100. Robots will never, well, except if the server is in BIOS, I think. But yeah.
And on the contrary, you told me that you also, to measure that, like number of clicks, etc., you found yourself like really like going into the analytics and like timing.
Well, maybe that is the other sure. Well, before maybe for some context, I was working before in the warehouse. So I was my job was to literally optimize the people that were picking products in warehouses to give them the best routes literally inside the warehouse. To do that, well, just use your watch. And to be honest, like it's a very, very easy and affordable way to measure for the success when you're optimizing a process or a tool. Is to basically use your watches or use literally the number of clicks that you're going to use throughout the process, as I said, and that's what we're measuring. So whether we, for example, let's say you were using a process when Slack, when the data that goes to forward, then it goes to minute, and it was really 1,000 top to us, then most will be So you try to see the links between each tools. You try to see which tool can be replaced, which tool can be deleted. Oh, can Forest do the same thing as Bullshit? Okay, so I'm just going to use Forest, etc., etc. And at the end, just literally you have two tables. Okay, this one process was using 10 clicks. Now I use 5. The whole process was using 10 minutes. Now it's 2, etc., etc. And that's a lot of quick ways made for like a big continuous improvement. And I think in our day in operations, that's what we have to try for, a lot of quick wins. Because I think there's no like a big magic method that will get you from 3 to from 50 NPS to 100 or from a 2.5 star low present by. It's a lot of a little thing. And of course, major work for customer support from the operators as a whole.
Anything to add, Hajer?
Yeah, I'm thinking about one process where which seems very basic, like maybe you subscribe to insurance and you set it on document, and behind it is like I realized how it's sustainably asked to look at its audience, because I just sit myself, and I think that in order to be able to understand the operations, you need to do it by yourself. So I'm also a proud user of FastMe during my weekends, just to have a look at it, how it goes, because it's really important. You cannot know, like, my teams of minutes tell me, like, this takes a lot of time, maybe you should change this. If you don't try to install, you don't realize how much time, when you might each of the times of paying for operations with humans, it can lead to churn, nothing, they can lead to bad NPS, and you cannot manage any manner. So I'm thinking about the keywords. People don't talk about it still. It is really like something that we can automate, but you still need humans, because I cannot tell tomorrow to my insurance company, sorry, the robot told me that this fake driving license was illegal, and the guy is the Hajer driving license. So I think suddenly what happens is that we already are trying ChatGPT, and our link with our tool has connected into Flitter. So it uses Qonto for KYC, and we actually are ready to put this in our health, because I think it is varied by the time that they are spending on these very many tasks. But you will always need humans in these tasks. So I'm not sure robots will manage to replace all the customer care teams. Fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately, but yeah, it's not like high value added. So I think the data will help us a lot in this low value added operation.
Thanks, Hajer. Anything to add, Jeff, as well, Paula?
Yeah, maybe a feature request on our end, and we would really like to have a foreign mobile app that would help us a lot of streamline operation and automate operations on a daily basis.
Gucci, any thought on that?
Sarah, what did
Okay, I just repose but any that after that. No kidding, thank you so much, guys. I think we can give them a huge applause. So yeah, I see some key takeaways on the discussion and giving more power to ops, best ops, ops, like you said, as they are like to empower also your end users. And there is no like magic wand, right? Focus on like the small signals, and small win will lead you to big results, basically in ops, and immediate access to data and the right data that is important for your support team and success team to answer in the right way to your customers. And now it's kind of the new standard. So yeah, thank you again for your participation in this panel. I hope it will useful to you guys. And yeah, maybe let's go for a quick Q&A session and before having a little glass of wine and some talks with each other. Yeah, maybe about others, my or
all of the kids. Yeah, it's like my name is William. I work for a heater and heat pump manufacturing company, a French company. We're 50 employees. We're growing. We have operations, but everything is mixed together. Like sales, customer success, customer support. And one of the main reasons I came in is I'm curious of how this is developed. I'm assuming in a startup you don't have all these groups from the beginning. It's probably one that separates. So I'm just curious, maybe for you guys, how it was. How did you go from one to another? When you went all those changes. So to be completely honest, I wasn't here for the 1-200 for Qonto. I arrived and we were already, I think, about 250 people. I was basically the only one in my team. There were 10. Now we're, I think, about 1,400 people all over Qonto. But in operations, I think there's a very nice thing that's happened. That was very similar than in what happens in product and tech. We managed to create like two teams, for example. That's how one is basically is gonna be focused on the big picture, on the what our providers with the best with the most efficient the scalability team, the main thing with which I work ahead and basically a bit. Sorry. The second team, the operations in YT, and like they have the big picture. We try to implement it as best as we can. So it's a bit like the product managers of the devs somehow. This is the parallel I was to draw, and I think it's a very nice way. I've never seen that in another company, to be honest. And I've been working 10 years. It's the first time I see it at Qonto, and I think it's an amazing idea because they haven't like really, and that's why like it works with product managers and devs. It works as well with people in ops that are really have the strategy, so the scalability team that we have, and the people that have the tech knowledge, the operations, like the field knowledge also, that's know, and this is a bit more my team, that know how to implement, or if they don't know how to implement, will implement, and immediately have the vision of tech, that is of course completely because you can't have a company with all the engineers, it's what we're like. And this is reality. Helps us like complete like really beautiful projects, really beautiful KPIs set, and I think it's really key. I think in our success, it works really well.
Maybe if I can add something, it's impossible to be super efficient at scale from day one. It's to do things iteratively. The example I shared earlier, like at the beginning, we had 50 clients. When you have 50 clients, you take your phone and answer. Once that grows, you need to automate this, but you do it step by step. For the repairs, it's a really good example. At the beginning, when users had an issue, they were calling us. We would call mechanics manually, but when you scale, it's not possible anymore. We had to develop a chatbot on intercom to do it. But we still had some human tasks that we had the need to develop an app specific for that, but we needed iterative. And also, for us, it's been a good help for us, please. It allows us to have features very, very quickly. Setting to Forest Smart Actions, we can quickly develop a little form for customer support people, so they can fill information, and a lot of tasks are followed by the smart action. But without Forest, we have developed an interface on our own app, etc. It's managed by Founder. So eventually we do that, but first, with the help of Forest, we can have something much bigger.
Pierre-Francois has a really, really good point, and it reminded me of something that I have witnessed also in the evolution a bit of our operations. And it's more, by the way, it's on the product side. And one thing that's evolved at Qonto, at least, same, it was amazing to see, is that at the beginning, Qonto was developing the products for the user, of course, and we need to do for the end user, for our clients. And more and more, like the products, or rather the operations, are becoming part of the product. So that's like a really big deal of that string. Is like, for example, before, I don't know, we were developing the onboarding journey of the clients. So okay, he has a first screen, the second screen. When this happens, this is that. It is super happy, that works great. But what you will see in the background is that everything is starting either the lab app, it's the film, it's starting a little bit right, we didn't have to bad anything yet. So it's really great for the client, it's seamless, and it just stands with that. And it's very much hard work for the customer successes. And then, like, you really did the budgeting that's changed, and for the better, since I didn't tell that as also before, like, we try, but everyone would buy them for rentability, for scalability. So if the product of doesn't think about us to operate, it means that you're not seeking for the same objective. Products, of course, and it's normal, we're very biased, own probably when we give the most beautiful product, it's always a synthesis hey, like those days, a synthesis of what we want to bring to the clients. But then this is a couple we need to make this work. We need to be a man marginality that is not negative. So at some point we need to scale, and we need to really think about the products as a whole and operations as part of it. I think that's really one thing that changed and made it for the better as well.
More thing to add is that, of course, as you mentioned, Pierre-Francois, at the very beginning, we start by doing everything manually. So by documenting all the processes and at the beginning, we are trying to automate it, but of course, we are trying to focus on the priorities, our first clients, but documenting processes is really, really important. And of course, something that always there is any in detailing or copy from the best ones as well in the industry.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we had also phone calls in the beginning. And it was like at Station F, people were calling us. And if you are starting the company, I can just recommend you to keep your little open until you get that benefit with that. So we just realized, I think operations are a matter of revenues, and you reach some place where you feel like, okay, I can't handle it anymore. And we realized for the phone calls, I think it was just 3 months, which was like great, because people would call us and say that we'd spend 1 hour with one in finance because it was saying silent lines, but if you go to the big cat, you will spend 1 hour with it and you will learn so much, and it is like really, really useful. So you need to take it step by step, and really, I think like if when we think about this, the operation system, we think about it like a very great design, because now we don't call it anymore. We can reclaim it. So everything is in intercom. So each cell requires like changes, rather than changes, and you know it is for sure when you need to do it because you cannot manage it anymore.
Can you use it for sure? Yeah. Yeah, it's all.
I think it can create a shot.
That's pretty long.
Yes. So you were talking about that you use data to answer the questions of your customers, or if there is an issue. You're like, you have all that data in a place. But it would be great if you give like a clear example of what is a case. For example, what is the data that you are getting? And are you getting that data through the same interface, or are you moving from one interface to another one?
No. I don't know if it was removed. Of course, data is key. So, for example, our client does access to free intercom, and each intercom is a bit related to, is a bit integrated with Forest. And what we do is fetch the data that is relevant to the client. For example, let's say in colors, I'm not sure their name, that session, but there's Louis Communist, for example. So we have his name, is the number of bank accounts that he has with us, the number of transactions that he's made, the cars that are related to him, and basically we try to have like, of course, we're not going to put all the data that we have on the week, but the most relevant data that will probably be needed in order to solve your case. So when you contact us, I know it's very basic, but when you contact us, probably you have a problem with your transactions. You have a problem, maybe problem with your car. So there will be a field, for example, in Intercom that are fetched from cars that say, okay, how many cars does he have? What are his cars? What is his last transactions? What was the amount? What was the status of the last transaction, etc., etc. And that helps us like in a very fast way when the customer support agents had all these informations. As soon as the client comes with its problem, it's very easy for him or her to answer with a very relevant answer. And say if these informations don't appear on our tickets tool, we have a direct link on the summary page, but also the summary page on Forest of the client that helps us like have all the relevant information again. If he's still registering, what are the documents that he has, which status he in, and then like on a glance of the eye, you know everything about the client and what you need to know to answer again fast and well. I don't know if that's the answer to your question. I hope.
Yeah. Well, on our case, actually we use our platform basically to check out if there is an issue from any client. We are going to solve in our platform. Well, right now we have one spaces that our clients Qonto, and maybe you have been using another workspaces, but no, yeah, because actually that's something that for our own processes has allowed to say another time whenever there is an issue, we can check it in advance, what is happening with this user or with this company or this project. And if that's, if we don't have our specialized for data, what we will do is check out the summary, any information that we have about data, different users, the different activities, the logies, and we save, of course, that data use in place like that.
And yeah, I don't know if there are users of Forest admin here, because we are mentioning like words that they have. No, nobody is in. So yeah, if you don't know the tool, what is great about it is that you have a visualization of the data, but you also have data box that you can like put, I don't know, it's like maybe 5 minutes some data to put a dashboard in data. So it's, for example, we have one dashboard to see if there's a lot of time waiting for your drive and the insurance certificate. We have 2 days to send it. It's something that you need to do fast in order to do better than all the insurance companies that take years before sending it. And when it comes to 2.5 days, 3 days, I can have it. I have the alert. So you can manage all the data also at a granular level, and you can give access to this dashboard to external players too, in order to manage their operations. So we had an external people writing files of the KYC because I wanted to keep my team. It won't fit. I didn't make the feeling because of that. And external guys had a look at it dashboard each day, others were check that they are on the right space of working, and then everyone is doing their job the right way.
I think having access to all the data is great, but sometimes too much data, it's too much. So I think it's important to have all the data, but also both the right data. Maybe your sales data in specific data, your marketing team specific data, your support team specific data. I know you're getting access to people who are helping you with better by people who are doing the KYC, maybe external partners. Those guys are solely a specific tailored interface to really execute the action. You have the right idea. It's also about that. And I know you integrate also metadata too for us. Recently, you played a lot with that. So charts, also graphics, it's also important to take a fast decision.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I can't resist. Two questions. The first one is, do you mind sharing with us what your basically operations tool belt looks like? So what are the tools? So we understand you use Forest, which is cool. But what are the other tools that you spend your days and running your operations? That would be the first question.
Maybe I can start.
Sure.
So we use Forest obviously quite heavily. We use Intercom heavily as well. We push information to Intercom as well. And thanks to this information, we get automated things. So in Intercom, we are able to do either, how many problems they had is by. Depending on that, we would then different routes in the messenger. We developed also our own mobile app. We need that because we have a lot of operators on this, people doing tests with customers. We have bike mechanics. Every day they do a repair on the bike. They still do repair in the mobile app. So all the data is propagated in the database. And then from it, we have a lot of dashboards, etc. We also use Slack quite heavily. We have a lot of Slack bots. When something needs an answer quite quickly, we got Slack bots for that. What other tools? I think that's the wind tool baked already.
Great. Yeah, Intercom.
Maybe I would add one. Typeform, great tool. And I think we don't use it as much as we should. Just to give you some examples, I've seen some broker insurance companies that are just tying core for your quotes. We have our own voice platform, but still we are using it to do play to the first authentication numbers. Good Typeform. The NPS is tracked to Typeform, and everything is connected with Zapier. So these are also two very powerful tools. No tools that you can use right away with no developer that it can help us build your tech. Our techniques are really hidden about the use of Zapier and the code inside Zapier sometimes because it helps them gain time, because sometimes we have ideas that don't really are not really useful, like so at least you can try things through Zapier without having headed code that's done, and once you realize that you will use the tool in the long term, you code it in your code base. So these are two important tools too that we are using today.
Same on our side. So Forest, heavily use of Forest. And inside of Forest, the workspaces, the segments. So of course the SQL is for database, and SQL in general is really useful for our operations. Just because that's the right job for me. And Kibana to check the bugs of the backend. Zapier, of course, but also other tools that are similar to Zapier, like Make or Tray.io, that are very useful for other topics, as well as just plain old by-day scripts that help us like do API calls. Postman to do API calls as well. That's help us get data that we wouldn't get another way. But yeah, we try as much as possible to like really, as Hajer and Pierre-Francois said, as well as Paula, to really give tech to apps. It's not an easy process, but I think it's a necessary one.
Thank you. And so actually, in your answer, there's a segue to my second question, which is, I think, Hajer, you mentioned the use of AI and plugging it into a smart action in Forest, if I understood correctly. There's a lot of hype around AI, and I'm just curious if you could shed some light around kind of what purpose it serves within your customer operations at Flitter.
I will give you one of the basic example. I think AI is going to have just a very basic example. So the examples of canvas, I will present canvas débat to my classroom planners et de my house. So canvas doesn't have proper APIs. It's very complicated. So each time a guy goes to canvas, we will receive an email with the document needs where you have all the data. How much the guy has paid, the name of the guy, the car, etc., etc. So we had one guy from spending the day, like manipulating all those emails, stating the data, how much we need to do in order to pay canvas back for the repair. Because if you go to guys, you're paying the over other stuff, but you're insurance to pay at the end, so we need to pay canvas. So what we've done recently is that each time an email comes, the email goes to Zapier. The Zapier takes the contents. The contents goes to the endpoint that is using OpenAI in order to get us all the data that it needs, the amount. It's a very simple yet, you just ask basic questions and you get all the data and give 100% of the time. So it's something that really completely automates. Really no problem. Another example where you can automate 100% is either when you are insured to go and relevant information. I'm sorry, I don't have English for it. Where you have all your accesses and your coefficient values, and you have so many insurers space that it's completely impossible to don't have AI and take the data from this document. And one of them has worked like for 1 minute, and she managed to automate the reading of this document while we had like 30 or 40 different features, and it worked in 2 days. So I think it's going really to change the way we work today. So these are 2 very concrete examples, but like we did it 2 weeks ago, so not all of them are useful today. So example number 1 is ready. Example number 2 is still a work in progress.
You don't need your intern anymore. We are looking for those kind of people.
We will recruit her.
I think we can call it a wrap and give a huge applause to our panelists and to all that you what I bring. If you still have questions, I invite you to take a glass of wine and address all the question you have to either the lumberjacks of Forest that are with their lumberjack shirts or our panelists here. Thank you so much for your attention.
And a big thanks to Iba for the tech support.
Thank you all for making this happen.